It is Frankie Boyer. This is one of those programs because I'm just so excited to have Mike Papatonio back. There is so much information. This man has been dishing out the truth for a very, very long time. And he has a brand new book out. It's called The Middleman. It's a legal thriller. Of course, it would be a legal thriller. It's an epic drama of whistleblowers, murder, thrills, and legal combat torn out of today's headlines. And you know what they say, sometimes fiction is hard to believe, but it's the reality of our
Yeah,
world. And
yeah,
that's
it is.
exactly what's happening with this new book. And Mike, you're a senior partner at Levin Papatonio and one of the country's largest plaintiffs' law firms, and was one of the youngest inductees into the Trial Lawyers Hall of Fame. You have aggressively taken on Big Pharma, congratulations,
Yeah.
tobacco, weapon manufacturers, human trafficking, which we talked with you about last time, the automobile industry, among others. And um, you're you were a lead lawyer in the national opioid litigation and national PFSA litigation. And I am so excited. And you also are the host of one of the most successful programs out there, America's Lawyer, and you're the founder and former co-host of the syndicated radio show Ring of Fire. And how do you have time to do anything, Mike? God
Well,
bless you.
yeah. Well, everything I do seems to converge, and it works out really well with the books that I write. Started writing them 15 years ago. Our firm was the firm that handled the tobacco litigation. We launched the
That's
tobacco
right.
litigation.
Yes.
So I came up with the book after that. So this book, though, is on PBMs, and the reason we're handling that case nationally. What we're finding is
Tell
absurd.
everybody what PBMs are.
Yeah, well, if they're a pharmacy benefit management, and it's something. If you lined up, Frankie, 100 people in a room and asked them what it was, they'd have no idea. But let me tell you what it is in a nutshell. Because the book, it's a fiction, but all of these facts are driven through the fiction book. I handle the issue like you're analyzing a mob because it's mobster conduct. It's no overstatement for me to say it's mobster conduct. You have companies that you have three companies. Express Scripts, CVS, and Optum that make in excess of $150 billion every year. And the way they do it basically is through kickbacks, extortion and kickbacks. There are no regulators. This is an industry completely unregulated. They don't have anybody to answer to, but they're
No, no,
responsible.
no. You are so you're Mike, I have an 88-year-old friend who left Boston to stay with the son in California for a month. The medicine from one of those companies you just mentioned, she spoke with them. It was supposed to be sent right to
Right.
the location. I go and check on the cat, and the medicine is in the presence of the house here in Boston, the apartment. They told her not to worry; they would be sending it. It never came. I had to overnight it to her yesterday to make sure that she got it
Yeah.
because she needs this medicine, and no one at the company is giving her an explanation. No
Well,
one is explaining to her why, and this is the mirage.
let
This
me
is
tell
what
you
goes
why.
on.
Let me tell you why, Frankie. Okay, because these three companies have they imagine that the insurance companies and the manufacturers of pharmacy of medicine get together and they say, let's create this thing called a PBM. All right, nobody created it except them. They have everything to gain and lose here. Here's what the PBM does. So let's say Pfizer creates a product, a new pill that's going to help you physically. PBM, there might be 5 other pills just like it, but the PBM makes the decision on which pill, which one of those 5 pills is going to be able to be sold in a pharmacy to where insurance will pay for it. In other words, here's what the PBM says: either play by our rules or
downplay it all.
we will take you off the list of drugs that can be sold in a pharmacy. Now, your friend, you know what happened to her? The PBMs are doing what we call lateral extension. They're putting together their own pharmacies. So what they're doing is they're saying to the manufacturer, send us your pill, we're going to put a price on it. The price increases the cost of that pill by 40%. The case that's used in the book, The Middleman, and I people to understand that can read The Middleman, and they will understand everything they need to about PBMs, and they'll be entertained. That's what I try to do with all these books.
Well, you succeed. But I just want to say, Mike, that what we don't understand and what you're making us very, very much aware of with all of the work that you do and all the bodies of things that you're doing between the books, the radio, and television, podcasts, what you're explaining to us is people think Big Pharma is the problem. It's beyond Big Pharma.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Big Pharma along with PBMs.
Let me give you a scenario. I take depositions all over the world because of the cases that I handle. I'm taking a deposition in Amsterdam about a product that was killing women. It's a birth control pill. And so I asked the guy at the end of the depo, I said, now let me ask you one more question. In the United States, this pill sells for $7.65. Here in your country, it sells for 58 cents. What's the difference? How can you do that? He says, we do it because we can get away with it in America. And what he was talking about, the reason he gets away with it in America is because the PBM sets that ridiculous price. We're selling medicine to Americans right now that's marked up 5,000 and 6,000%. The PBMs are hugely responsible for that. The first time I've heard any discussion about it, interestingly enough, was with this administration where they're coming in saying we have to do away with PBMs because they're under pressure. This is an administration that's made promises to the American public. We're going to bring the cost down on medicine. We're going to solve inflation. If they don't solve this, they can't answer that. They can't answer that promise. Here's what happens. You have people in America right now because of PBMs that have to decide: do I take my medicine today or do I eat? The medicine is that expensive. They have to decide: do I cut this pill in half so I can have another one tomorrow, or do I eat? The same way with this book called Middleman. What we do is analyze insulin through the best way that you can describe
story.
it. It is a gangster undertaking. It's purely a gangster undertaking with kickbacks, extortion. The best description I have: if you take a mobster in New York that goes around knocking on doors and says, hey, we'll give you protection if you'll pay us. Well, that's what the PBM does for the pharmacist, to the manufacturer. They said, if you pay us what they call rebates, and all they are is kickbacks, if you pay us, we're going to put your pill on the list of pills that insurance will pay for. If you don't, we're going to put somebody else. It's extortion. They can call it whatever they want. The co-pays in America right now have been increasing every single year since we've had PBMs in place. So it on so many levels, people need to understand this. If they read this book, here's the great thing about it. You can read a thriller. It's a page-turner thriller. But at the end of that read, you're going to understand what I'm talking about with PBMs.
What's so upsetting about this is that it's real.
Oh, it's every day. I handle this every day, Frankie. This is the case we filed in the United States. We filed against the PBMs for them jacking up prices of insulin by 1,500%. Let me put it this way. If you buy insulin, the same amount of insulin in the U.S. costs $98. It costs $7 all over the rest of the world. It costs $2 to produce. They sell it for $98. There is no government oversight. The Department of Justice has had time and time again, they've had the opportunity to prosecute these people for antitrust. They've refused to do it because they're white-collar criminals. They don't look like criminals because they're all dressed up in Armani suits. They have MBAs from Harvard and Yale, so we don't treat them like criminals. You could shut all of these companies down with an executive order and with a mandate from the Department of Justice to do a meaningful investigation and go after these folks. Eric Holder, under Obama, he had it dead to right. It was right out in front of him. Here it is. Here it is, Attorney General. He
So
did
why
nothing.
hasn't it happened?
Because of money. It's all money. These companies are right now. You have 4 politicians, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, that have been paid so much money from this industry that they're holding up legislation in Congress. And they've been doing that now for about 5 years. They're paid so much money. You would be shocked if I told you one of the names, because you'd say, wow, really?